relieves me to go, well, what's next for me? And can I just get past all of these limiting beliefs that I've had in myself? Because, that's scary, right? It's scary to go, I'm going to do something I don't want to be doing. But it's even more scary to just do nothing, right?
Michael Little, want to say firstly, thank you so much for jumping on Overcome the Chaos. And you've spent some time, obviously, out of your days. So thank you so much for jumping on and having a talk to me so that we can talk about it, to share with people what is actually happening in here. I'd love for you to just to give us a little bit, like a real quick rundown of what you do with yourself and, what some of your goals are or were before jumping into Overcome the Chaos.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks for having me. Goals, and I suppose why am I here, or why am
What do you do for a job? What are you passionate?
what do I do for a job? Okay. I suppose changed careers heaps of times, and I continue to keep changing them. Currently I'm in recruitment, so I'm a talent acquisition partner. So I work in a local council, supporting our business areas to recruit into the community. So it's a pretty cool job. But I've also kind of recognised that I've done it for a couple of years now, and it's a bit stale. I'm feeling a bit bored and ready for that next challenge. But I suppose what I'm in here for and what I'm focusing on now is what's next, and what I do next. And I guess I'm a bit lost in that space. So that's why I jumped in here to try and understand where I go from here, because otherwise I just go straight into that next job and pick a job on Seek. And go, I'll give this a crack over here. I'll probably throw myself in, try and prove myself, and burn myself out till I prove myself, and then get to the same position I'm feeling in right now. I suppose one of the things I've done in the last couple of weeks was go, well, actually, I probably know that job in Seek isn't the one for me. So I went in and turned all those notifications off that come in every day, because I'm like, they're not helping me. They're just kind of pulling me in a direction that I know that I don't really want to be taking. So I've kind of parked that and said, well, I know that's not what I want. But it's that belief piece in yourself to know, well, what do I really want to do, or what am I holding myself back from, so that I can actually achieve something that I know I'm meant to be here doing.
Yeah, because you've got like a lot of energy, and you have this cycle where you jump into a new job, you climb the hierarchy, you sort of get to the top where you're maxing out your performance, or it looks like you get to a position where it's like, well, I've capped here. I'm not going to grow unless I stay here for a long period of time. I'm going to break this cycle and do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Nailed it on the head. And there's obviously a limiting belief in myself that I can do something far greater than that. But I still put myself in uncomfortable positions, but I still know that I'm comfortable to do that level. And I've always managed to prove myself in every job I've done. I've changed careers that many times, it's not funny. And every time I get to that same position. So, even this week, I've jumped into my boss's job for 3 weeks. And I just like, for the first time ever, I'm like, I just can't be bothered. Like, it's not really what I want to be. And I've got all these phone calls, I've got people coming to me, and I'm like, geez, I could just not be doing this right now. But that's probably got a lot to do with the fact that I've, as I mentioned, just parked that this job's not where I want to be, and this space is probably not where I want to be. But yeah, plenty of energy to dive in and be passionate about something. It's just about finding what that passionate thing is.
Yeah, which is, I'm assuming, obviously, why you jumped on the course and something that you wanted to work on, because I'm assuming that previously, if you got offered this opportunity, you would have just been like balls to the wall, like going at it as hard as you can, trying to do the best and people pleasing. And it's really cool that you've had this reflection now where you're like, oh, I actually don't want this, and I got to spend some time thinking.
Oh, exactly. In fact, my boss, we're in recruitment, my boss went for another job. And so I had to go and step into him to manage the recruitment for that role, just to remove the conflict of interest. And the whole time I'm thinking, I don't want you to get this job, because if you get this job, there's going to be all eyes on me, expecting me to jump into his job and put my hand up to put his job. I don't even want to be in that position, because I don't want to explain myself that I don't want this job. So, yeah, I guess my reason for jumping on, a couple of reasons. Like, I suppose I know that I'm in a job that I don't want to be in. I've planned out some leave over Christmas, and so I kind of went, next year I'm definitely ready to move on. Coming out of an 18-year relationship as well. This year's just been about kind of settling and whatnot. but then I kept thinking, what am I going to do? Like, am I just going to go for that next job off Seek? And I'm like, that doesn't sound like anything I want to do again, right? I've done this repetitive cycle numerous times. And I suppose the other part is, as I mentioned, coming out of an 18-year relationship, I've got a 6-year-old son. I got to the point where I just naturally sort of stopped and went, whew, what's next? Who am I? I've got people asking me questions weekly, like, oh, have you started dating again? Have you, what are you doing? And I'm like, my response is, I don't actually know who I am anymore. Like, and that's pretty exciting, right? I'm not fussed by that at all. In fact, I think it was a great opportunity. Opportunity to meet new people, opportunity to try new things, and almost leave behind what I've been doing. You want to keep a bit of yourself, but definitely opportunity to start again. And I got excited by that, but I honestly didn't know how to get there. That was the sticking point. How do I work out what I want to be? How do I work out who I want to be? And how do I get past some of these beliefs in myself that I know that I've been holding on to for forever?
Insane, because you fall into all these unconscious comforts which sort of come out, which you sort of think that you're doing the right things or you think you're doing the right stuff, but a lot of it comes down to people pleasing for other people. I'll stay here, I'll do this, whatever it is. And it's like having that independence of anti-comforts and anti-temptations of just like, oh, okay, this is a lane, I'm going to stick in it. And now that you've jumped on Overcome the Chaos, you're like halfway through the program. You've gone through like a whole journey of self exploration in terms of like diving into yourself, like learning some crazy things. Like the start of the course goes like pretty in depth and like forces people to real get vulnerable and, talk about some, real deep type of things to get clear on exactly just what you need to be taking action on. I'd love for you to talk about, some of the tools, the reflections, the vulnerabilities, which you have used or thought about in order to slightly shift who you are and what you thought was like really beneficial, powerful for you.
Good question. I suppose one of the things that's kind of been top of my mind is, and it's probably grown over the weeks, is maybe when I was 30, I thought by the time I was 40, I'd know what I was doing and I'd know where I'd be where I wanted to be. And so starting to kind of reflect on the fact that, I'm probably at that 40, 41 mark and I'm not where I want to be. Like that was a really big eye-opener to me and kind of a bit of a kick up the ass to say it's time to really focus on myself because I don't want to be where I am in 10 years' time. And that was a real eye-opener to go, oh, geez, in 10 years, in your 50s and you still never done anything you really wanted to do. For me, it's been really about being more conscious of the unconscious that I've been doing. And the older you get, the more layers, more brick walls you chuck up to sort of protect yourself from things that you've thought. And I've definitely developed over all these years, these beliefs in myself about what I can and can't do. And that's the stuff that I'm really starting to unpick and untangle was, even though I think I can't do something, absolutely I can.
Tell us about how you got to there, like in your like course experience, like with the groups, with the content. Cause I'd love to hear like, for like, if everyone is listening right now in terms of the actual shifts, like these are really big, important shifts that you've gone in, asked the right questions, done the actual work, paid attention, learned the things, and then talk to people about some vulnerable things that you haven't talked before. So put yourself in an environment, situation, which has allowed you to go, bam.
Yeah. So I suppose, and a lot of people have, experiences through school and high school and being a kid, whether it be your families, whether you're, and I was no different than that. And I don't think my experience is any different, but it certainly made me believe that there was a limiting belief in myself around, maybe a bit of bullying at school and being able to present and talk to a group of guys and be vulnerable. And I really struggle with that in a big way. If I'm one-on-one, I'm okay with that. But in a group where I feel like I could be judged or I care, obviously care too much about what other people think or just fitting in. And I think that probably extends to a lot of people, even if they don't want to admit it. Absolutely, that's the piece. And I'm still working on that. But once I actually was able to address some of those things to our group, it kind of let a wall down for me to then start going, well, that wasn't it. Like that's not what's holding me back, right? But in the work that I've done, I've looked at all of the things that I developed over from my school years, and started looking at things like how I actually performed at school, even down to primary school reading and the likes, and went, oh, geez, I've always been behind, right? So I've always doubted my own ability to learn, and I suppose from an academic level, like I've always gotten everywhere I need to in a job where I'm very visual, get me in the job, I'll work it out. But set me a task where I've got to sit down and read and really educate myself. I haven't necessarily been successful in that. So therefore, I don't believe that I can do that. And I don't believe I could do that to a level where I could get to where I think I'd love to get to. But so I stopped putting, goals out there that are that's far out that I need to, really extend myself from an academic perspective. Year 12, I went to uni for 3 semesters and got kicked out basically because I passed 3 subjects. And that was after getting like the lowest, year 12 score. And that had spread right through. So now I kind of go, well, I'll do something over here as long as it doesn't involve, educating myself. And that's been a big learning to go, well, you know what, that may be the case, but I know that I can actually do that now. I need to prove it to myself more, and I need to keep working on that, but it's not something that I've stuck to my existing or beliefs that I've had on myself over the last sort of 20 years. So that's been a really big piece for me. And I guess now just working out how that looks and starting to, I suppose the other part is diving into the community and having some really, really big, deep chats with, and I've spoken to so many of the guys in the group. And I had a call a few weeks ago and I was like, well, I don't know if I could add value. And they go, we've been on the phone for two hours and you just helped me unfold a whole bunch of things about myself. And I was like, at the end of the day, no matter how much you can read or how much you can dive into yourself, there is sometimes that need to kind of get that mirrored back to you. You do need to get that that confidence from other people. And then I think I suppose the key is that once you do get that, you need to take it on and own it and leave it behind. So I think I'm still working on that piece, but I was here and I'm way over here now.
How does it feel?
Yeah, bloody good.
I like that. A big smile on your face. So what week for you has been like the most powerful and why?
I think week 3 was definitely the week that I needed to dive in. And that was the week that I felt probably most uncomfortable in talking about things from school, from growing up and sharing that. And I didn't know why. And I suppose at the end of the day, it's not about the why. It's just the fact that it made you feel uncomfortable. And that's why you don't deal with it. And the funny thing is, it wasn't that it necessarily solved everything for me, but the minute I kind of attacked it, it allowed me to work on the next piece.
What do you mean by that?
That was a big thing. So I know, a lot of people can find that one thing. And once they've dealt with it, it allows them to kind of work through it and move past it. For me, it was more about dealing with one thing so that I can work out what the next piece was to work on.
What was the one thing that you had to work on?
Well, I think was more around the limiting beliefs around me being able to learn. Whereas I thought it was a real struggle with my confidence in myself and people. But I'm not a shy and introverted person by any means. But I suppose when you are with a group of guys who are highly confident, highly extroverted, it doesn't matter how extroverted you are, you can be the quietest extrovert in the room, right?
That'll week 1 experience.
Absolutely. And so I suppose over the weeks you build your confidence up. And I think even the first week when I jumped on one of our calls, that was a big thing. I struggled to talk, and I'm like, what's going on here? It feels like I'm back at high school again.
And now that you're in it, like halfway through, now what's the experience like?
Well, I suppose every week I get a little bit more confident in being able to share, go a little bit deeper, and that for me is what I needed to develop and learn and grow on. And it's funny because I speak to other people in the course and they have the opposite. Like they're okay with talking to the group that maybe not as confident to reach out to an individual and have a chat with an individual. which is funny because that was the beast that I've probably gone for more comfortably, and talked to many people in the team, and had some really great conversations. And the more I do, that's where I get a lot more depth about what I need to be working on. And that's been a lot around, being conscious of things, looking at things like, where you have some resentment in your life. And, I've got a few different areas where I know that I'm working on. I've just come out of a relationship, and I realized how much, being conscious of it now, how much I consume energy in areas where I shouldn't be. And I get upset and get triggered by things that I'd actually love just to leave alone. So, but you've got to work through what that looks like and how you can actually move past resentment, because it's not just a switch you turn on and off. So yeah, I suppose that's most of the things that I've been working through. But yeah, it's been pretty. There's just so many things. It's a daily thing too, right? It's not just a once a week kind of thing. It's something I've been working on every single day for the last however many weeks.
And I'd love to hear like a little bit of a story that maybe even might not know, in terms of like during your experience around Overcome the Chaos, whether you've taken the practical skills and the knowledge and you've applied them to real life, or you've got the practical skills and the knowledge and you've done something in real life that you'd usually be unconscious of, but then you've gone, oh, I stuffed up here, but now I'm aware of it. And now I've got that tool to like make a shift. I'd love to hear like a story.
Yeah. Okay. So I suppose, for me at the moment, like I'm in the middle of really untangling an 18-year relationship, and so there's a lot of emotions coming out in these last couple of weeks. And the next 2 weeks pretty much kind of gets to that point where we wrap it all up. Last week was this hugely emotional week for me, and I think any other week, if I went back 6 months, I'd just be running through the emotions without being conscious about what was triggering me.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening to these podcasts and applying these concepts to your life and sharing these with all your friends and on your stories. I am seriously so full of gratitude. I am currently experiencing one of the best phases of my life, and I just want to share this with you. If you know someone, or if you're a man who is at that stage of your life where you're unclear with what to do next and you are self-sacrificing to help everyone else, saying yes to everything, doubting yourself, suffering from imposter syndrome, or you can't find your purpose, so you're constantly distracting yourself with hobbies, working too much, other distractions, or a partner or an ex, we are running a group coaching program for ambitious men called Overcome the Chaos for you, especially if you are someone who wants to network with other professionals, get support, learn the tools, and stop holding yourself back from becoming the best version of yourself. The first half of life, the scariest thing is living at your full potential. The scariest thing at the second half of life is never actually taking the leap. So please send me a message on Instagram saying ready, or apply through my website, CoreyBoutwell.com, and we'll point you in the right direction.
And I had a little bit of a meltdown with my son last Tuesday, and it was about, sports tracksuit pants. And I kind of, right in the moment, I'm like, I know exactly what's going on here. Like, I'm triggered because we're having a meeting on Friday, and it's Tuesday, and I've been thinking about it all week. And it might sound really small, but it changed my entire outlook for the week and how I coped myself. And I put a lot of different tools in place. And even come Friday, when I needed to catch up with my ex-partner, I did some breathing work. I did a lot of things in the morning to kind of calm myself down, so that I went in with the right energy and the best approach for me at that time. And I think for me, at the conclusion of that meeting, it went well. We had a good catch up. We talked through a lot of things, and then I realized just how much emotion sitting in there still, and I couldn't release it. Like, it was just so built in over the last 5 or 6 years that I don't think I'd even noticed it until the last 2 or 3 weeks, just how much I'm sort of holding myself together, and have had to. And now it's a matter of, if I can release that over the next couple of weeks, I think that's going to really allow me to drive forward with life. There's been so many of them too, though. I suppose they're all so small and but so big. Like, nothing's a big. None of them are actually huge. They're all real small little changes that you're making to improve yourself.
Have you had any releases?
No, I think my body stops me.
So you're ready to lean in and have like a big cry session.
I reckon I actually went to on Friday. Like I literally went, as soon as she walked out of the house, I literally went to burst into tears, and my body just kind of stopped me. Like it was physically, like I actually felt my body move, and I was like, shit. And then I actually went to throw up. Like I felt sick after that. Like because I actually felt my body stop me, and then I was like, and you go, well, why is that? And it made me realize, well, we had separated 5-6 years ago, and I spent 10 months of the first year pretty much crying myself to sleep every night. And you get to the point where you're like, well, that's not helpful. So you put up a wall to say, well, that's enough. We're going to move on. And so then you try and control your emotions so that you can keep moving through life to the point where you've developed these. And I'd say that they're pretty amazing skills to completely hide your emotions, right? You have to work on that to be able to do it well. Because everyone when I actually told people what had happened, they'd have no idea. Like I've told great best friends that we'd separated for 12 months and told nobody. No, what do you mean? And I said, oh, we went to Thailand. We actually all went to Thailand together. And I said, we were separated the whole time. Like, and they're like, but you didn't show any. And I'm like, yeah, well, I trained myself to put up that big front, and now it's impossible to let it down, right? So they're things that I'm working on. But I didn't realize just how big they were until the last few weeks.
That is so insane. And what were like either parts in the theory or the tools or the conversations or the call that you had with our head coach, Glenn? What are some of the things in there that you found really beneficial in order to build on your skill set?
Yeah. So I think in order to be conscious, you need to have, you need to create space for yourself. So you need to have space to be able to really start thinking about what's happening in your life. And if you're in the rat race and you're constantly just burnt out and tired and ticking boxes and just going through the motions, then you'll never actually start to really recognize what you're doing in your life. You'll never really recognize where your energy is going. And so when you start to look, and I think these are things that I kind of already instinctively knew a little bit, but it's the accountability to actually sit down with the core structure to start mapping out your routines, start setting yourself some goals, start putting those habits in or reintroducing those habits to get better sleep, to have a more consistent routine. Because if you're not putting, and I suppose this is probably week one, I kind of dived in and had a good chat to Daniel about a couple of things, and really around habits and the percentage of time a habit. If you have habits, how much more time and how much energy have you got to put in the rest of your day? So if you have a great habit set in the morning and you don't have to think in the morning, then you have like 50 to 60% more energy for the day because you're not thinking about what you need to do when you get out of bed in the morning. And the more focus you put on getting those right, so you're not thinking, you're just doing, you're actually creating so much more power and energy through your day, which has been huge for me. And I think even this week's been the week where I've really introduced some great repeatable habits every morning. And so my mornings all the way up to about 12, 1 o'clock have just been hugely powerful, focused, high energy. And, you have a few bad moments, but they're actually about going, well, I can recognize where. And I had a chat to Glenn, even I think in this week's call, and I knew, and I think he just pointed it out to me. They're going to go, hey, you're so busy, you got lots going on. You need to stop and slow down and actually create some space and time for yourself through your day. Like you may not have full days or 4-hour blocks, but create 10 minutes a couple of times a day where you just stop and really get in touch with what's going on in your head, or just stop what's going on in your head just for a second to breathe. And that was pretty powerful in the sense that I knew that was what I needed to do. But I think the difference in the reflection is that even if you know what you know you should do, hearing it from somebody else is actually what makes you instinctively make a change, right? Because, you can tell yourself to do something every day, but until someone goes, you need to do this, and you're like, yes, I know that. And the next day you go and put it in, right? You do. Because you're like, well, fuck, if someone else can see that looking in, then, and I know that from being here, then it's stupid not to, right? So, yeah.
I love that, man. And in your own experience, what's been unique about Overcome the Chaos and the program and the coaching and the content, all that stuff?
So I think, well, obviously you've put together an amazing course, and I think each week flows into the next week. But if everyone just came and did a one-on-one course, that would be maybe 50% of the course. The other 50 is actually the community, and driving that accountability, and driving different insights and different learnings from different people, because we all learn differently and we've all had different experiences. And so someone will share a story, and three parts of that will resonate with you and three parts might resonate with somebody else, but you can have a really great chat. And I've probably talked to 6, 7, 8 of the guys, and there's a couple that I've spoken continuously with, and I'm talking to them about very different pieces. And I love that, when I ring up one person, I'm talking about, belief systems and what we want to do in the future, and careers. Whereas another one's, a bit more spiritual, a bit more philosophical, and, he's helping me work through, my resentment and that sort of stuff. And I'm actually having multiple different conversations and diving into areas in different ways from different people. So that's been more helpful than anything else. And I think that's the part that maybe you don't always have the friends that can do that, or in that space, in that open-mindedness to actually want to be helping themselves, to actually want to help you as well. And you can open up really, really wildly with them. Because your friends can really want to help you, but at the end of the day, if they've got things going on in their life and they're not actually in that self-development space, then they're not necessarily going to be able to give you the love that you're actually hoping that they're going to give you.
So you're making like some really awesome friends in this program and having some crazy chats.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think even when you help other people, that for me is a really strong piece. And so I've had, you don't even realize half the time that what you're talking about is actually helping someone unleash something in their own mind.
And helping you more, like cement that more. That's one thing that we try to do, like in the program, is create opportunities for growth, which you've seen, because is what the best way, obviously to learn is to teach. So we try to communicate that. And I think some of the culture, correct me if I'm wrong, but the culture around everyone's just teaching everyone.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That's exactly right. And everyone's got something different to bring. And who was I think everyone, you see yourself in other people, right? So when you bring something on, I think I was talking to Angus the other day, and he's looking for an answer, and I'm like, you're after answers from somebody else. I go, you're actually looking for an answer for someone. And I go, and I know that. I said, because that's what I do. I said, you need that answer. You need to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I go, no one's going to give it to you. I said, that's for you to work out. And jumped off, and he's like, gee, that was exactly what I needed to hear. I'm like, yeah. And you know what? You walk away and you're like, well, now that I've told someone else that, I need to make sure that I listen to myself when I get to that position as well, right? Because I'm constantly trying to, before I go and do something, I want to make sure I know what I'm doing, or what the outcome's going to be. And it's not always about that.
Michael, you're only halfway through.
I know, right?
The journey up begins from here.
Absolutely.
What are you like most excited for within the last, just in terms of the course, the year, the last half of the rest of the stuff? What like sort of gets you excited with everything that we're doing?
With everything we're doing, I think, I think I'm about 2 weeks in my mind to sort of release myself from where I've been, and relationship-wise and all the rest of it. I bought a new house, and that was like this huge foundational piece. And I think I'm excited to kind of get to those final, 3-4 weeks post that, so that I can actually start to go, well, actually, there's nothing holding me back at all.
This is going to be huge for you, Michael.
Yeah. Because as I said, I feel like I've still got something holding me back a little bit now, and I just think that's a presence and a vibe that I've got to get out of. And when I do, that will just release me to go, well, what's next for me? And can I just get past all of these limiting beliefs that I've had in myself? Because that's scary, right? It's scary to go, I'm going to do something I don't want to be doing. But it's even more scary to just do nothing, right?
Oh, Michael, it's so weird how when people come into the course and the program, I don't know what it is. It must be some sort of alignment thing, because we're all getting aligned. And with it, and like obviously we know those who belong together come together. So if anyone's listening right now, could be a sign. But for you, like what I find so fantastic, and like people that come in is like the week lands on them like exactly when they need them. And I'm not sure if it's their own life or a whole reason of getting in the universe, manifesting, like whatever it is, or if it's just the core structure. Like I got no idea. But whatever it is, and I can see that with you with the exact same things that you're going through now is like week 5 helps you figure out all those things. And then week 6 is what we do to get you to implement them. And I know that's like roughly like where you're at. I just find it like so fascinating that like you've got here and it's landed on those exact times. It just blows my mind.
Oh, and I think you like that's sort of exactly how I feel, because I've slowed things down and taken 2 weeks to do things. Sometimes I've taken 3 weeks because I just knew that I needed to. And then the next week, everything else just kind of fits into play and I'm ready to start thinking about it. So, I think, there's a core structure, but sometimes you've got to do things in your time because it aligns well with you. And even right now, I kind of recognize that maybe the next 2 weeks isn't my right time to be focusing on that stuff. I just need to focus on my what's going on in my life. But I know that when I get to that there's a reason why I'm going to hold off or work on that stuff then, because I'm going to be really ready to focus on those things. And it's interesting you mentioned that before, because Angus and I were having a chat about why we all get here and how we get here, right? And I said, so, when Corey jumps on the phone to someone, does he know? Does he just know? Like, is there a something a bit bigger out there that, because otherwise we wouldn't all end up here with an open mind. Sometimes you just pick up the phone with someone right?
Yeah. Sometimes you do, because I wouldn't know. It could be like a sort of intuition thing. I think what I try to do is just all the content that I do is for a good reason. Yeah. And obviously we can tell like with social media, there's people who are extremely authentic and there's people who aren't. And I try to do all the things that we learn in the course. I try to live that ethos of like being vulnerable, showing who you are, like open, like not being afraid to be seen and implementing all the stuff that we learn. And I don't know what it is, because every time I jump on the phone, you guys like say something like, you know what I mean? What I saw your content and like whatever you were saying, and like I felt a pull, or there was like, I just like, he's really authentic or whatever it is. And it's like, well, there's no difference between me on camera and me in real life. There's nothing. And it's just like piqued. I don't know. I'm assuming this, by the way. I'd love for you to confirm. Just like piqued your interest. So then when we get on the phone and have a chat, we just get along really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's you can only speak for yourself, right? So that's how I was, and I suppose that's where a few of the other guys were. But we were kind of going, do you ever get on the phone and go, maybe not? I don't know.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, sometimes people get on the phone and it's like, all right, I'm going to ask a few questions because I want to give them some value and then send them somewhere else. Here's a podcast to listen to. Here's something for here. And sometimes you're like, damn it, because like you've had the chats, you've done the things, you've got on the phone, you're like, no. But there are some times when we pick up the call and I've got all these questions and these things that I want to give and talk about. And sometimes we'll get in like 2 questions deep, we're diving in and I'm like, oh, can we do the sales sign up already? Like, I just want to see you in the course already. Like, I just want to see you in the course. Let's just go and like sign you up. But like, obviously I'm saying from other people's point of view, it's like, no, let's map out everything particular so we know everything that goes on. But sometimes I'm just on the phone, like with you, would have been like a great like example where I was 2 questions in and I was like, Michael's going to crush it. I really like this guy. I can't wait to see him in the course. I really wish I could just be like, look, just buy now and I see you win.
Oh, exactly. And I think, but I think there's always got to be that connection both ways, right? Before you get in. But and I think that's the key, that we have got such a great community and such a great group of fellas that we're all in the same place, all with an open mind, all willing to develop themselves and help other people as well.
It makes me emotional a little bit, man. Like, a community is pretty insane.
It is, yeah.
I keep getting emotional every time I think about it. I'm like, and like, it's real cool being in a position where like everything I do is for you guys. Like, I love you guys so much, and all the stuff that we do and going through, like, obviously being received is like the best gift that you could ever have. And like every time we're going through something, I'm like, all right, there's an assumption that I've made in the content here or with the coaching here. So I'm consistently investing in myself to try and like lift, just like my own knowledge and experiences up. So I'm like, cool, now I can best as possible deliver something here or have like the good product or create opportunities for other people to really like flex and learn like their own skills, so they can really implement it. And being in that position is like, it's a little bit overwhelming sometimes because we're all just getting up to speed, really quick. And we're bringing all of these like bonds and like communication and opportunities together. Like this is it's so strong. And yeah, it just gets me damn emotional sometimes thinking about like, the community that we created. And for some people, there's so many people out there that I see who are just so brilliant or part of the group or friend of a friend who I don't even say it like anymore. I used to be like, oh, you guys should like jump on the program for whatever this is. There's some people out there I'm like, oh my goodness, you would benefit so much from the community and stuff that we've created. If only you could see, if only you were a part of it and you understand, it change your life for whatever reason. And for some people I see them like they may not, and they may not going to, and they're not like ready in a certain position. And I feel responsible to help them. Sometimes I don't want to push people with it. So it's like, damn, I wish I could say something, but sometimes I just don't. And I'm like,
I know that's that fine line, isn't it? And you and I had a message during the week about, one, and you kind of go, how do I help without pushing, right?
I know. How can we teach people the stuff in the course without like, you can only lead a horse? Yeah, as I was messaging you, you only lead a horse to water.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's hard, right? To go, because I didn't send you a message until I thought about it for a day or two. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'd love just to, maybe just a little poke will actually help someone to be able to jump on and just give themselves in, right? Because that's actually what they need is what we've got. We can give it to you.
Oh God, it's so like with that, the only thing that you can do is just always come down to is just be the best you and work on yourself and be exactly who you want to be and who you need to be. Because when you're that shining light and you end up being that role model, because as I mentioned, I talk to everyone on the phone, this like everybody jumps on and say, thank you for like choosing to invest in yourself, because once you finish this program, you're going to be in the position where you're a role model and other people are going to look up to you as a benchmark. And people are going to see you and go, whoa, this guy is like significantly like either integrated himself, he's changed, or like maybe we just knew a mask of this person. Like, well, look at this person in their entirety now. And obviously when you finish the course, it's like, that's when the journey begins, right? But still, being in that position of like responsibility is like, it's powerful. And that's like all we can do in the community, which we're seeing, right? We're starting to, I don't know, I'd love to hear your opinion on it, because I believe I see it as all these people like sort of rising above and coming up too, and then everyone else is like, I want to be like that person.
And I think when I jumped on or watched some of the replays and some of our weekly calls, there's always a couple of people that have kind of hitting that week 4, 5, 6, and they've risen above, and you're like, that's the person I want to be. And you're actually watching them talk about the people that are on week 7 and 8 talking about how they want to be like them, and it just pulls. And I think that's probably the power a little bit, that you don't just do 1 week with one group. Like, you're actually watching the progress and you're actually seeing the results, and they're talking back towards the people that are starting on week 1 to give them that encouragement and go, hey, I was feeling like you as well, but just lean into it. Just, really apply yourself and you will get there, because everyone that's been through here has gone through this journey.
Crazy, Michael. Dude, thank you so much for jumping on the course, man, and contributing and just being an absolute stud for everyone in there, and, being a shining light and guiding, just like leaning into everything and, really working on yourself and making the changes and dealing with the mistakes and the stuff ups and being aware of it and making the changes and leaning into goddamn vulnerability. And like, obviously I believe strength and vulnerability. It's scary, right? How scary was it?
Oh yeah, like that's that. I mean, that's the piece that I've got to recognize. Like, if it feels vulnerable, it feels a little bit uncomfortable. It's kind of the path you need to take, right?
It always is, man. It's always that scary dark cave where the dragons lay, but the gold's underneath. So,
absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me, Cora. I really, really value being on here, and I've gotten so much out of it so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it.
Yeah, and thanks for coming onto the podcast. For anyone who's listening, if they want to reach out to you or ask you some questions or anything, like where can they find you?
Yeah, Instagram. I think it's Michael_Little_. So yeah, jump on there.
There we go. Well, everyone, thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. I obviously did. It was great catch up with you, Mike, have a chat on a Friday and go through some of these things with this community that we've created. And yeah, just thanks for being a part of it, man. And we'll talk soon. I'll see you in the calls next week.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Peace.